Hey guys, it's the Magic Hour. How y'all doing out there? Hey, what's going on? Good to see you, Virtue. Happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a good one so far. You like that intro? I like it too. I think it turned out really nice. Yeah, so today we're getting back to a little bit of Ace Attorney, right? So we've played through the first 4 episodes of this first Ace Attorney game. We're now on episode 5, Rise from the Ashes, and we're defending our client, High Prosecutor Lana Skye, Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, I'm sorry. We're defending her against charges of murder, right? So here we are at the police station in the evidence room. We found out that there was a second crime that occurred here. And we came and sprayed luminol all over the place and found blood and all kinds of suspicious things. And our next step was going to be to go to the High Prosecutor's office to get more information. So let's go ahead and move forward. Going back to the guard station. There's our buddy. You remember him, of course. Hold on 1 second. Let me take care of something real quick. All right, here we go. Had to go ahead and turn off my heart rate monitor. There's nothing too heart pounding in this game. Right? Okay, so where were we? I know, right? Okay. Yeah, this all looks good. Oh, yeah, only when you see Edgy, huh? Everyone loves Edgeworth. I wonder if he has anything else to say. We should probably just check. Yeah, he's still good. Alright, let's go ahead and move to the police department entrance. Move to the underground parking lot, right? It's a little tricky to figure out where exactly we are supposed to go to get to our destination in this game, in this particular episode. The High Prosecutor's office is accessible from the parking garage. Okay, so here we are back in Edgeworth's office. Try not to swoon. Hey, look who it is! Ah, guests. My apologies. Oh, it's you. Have we met somewhere? Huh? Mr. Edgeworth, I beg your leave. So long. You remember the bellboy, of course. Right? He was from, what, the very first case? Is Edgeworth here? There, standing by the window, a teacup in his hand. Oh, Edgeworth looks unhappy. Right. He has the hotel bring him tea service? Mr. Edgeworth, you're back from the district prosecutor's office inquiry? I am. By the way, Detective Gumshoe was looking for you. Ah, yes. He brought me the latest information, it seems. Really? Was it helpful? Apparently, a new French restaurant is opening near here. I think he was trying to console me somehow. The real info is on the other side, Edgeworth. Poor Mr. Edgeworth. I think this whole thing is really taking a toll on him. Alright, Edgeworth, tell us what's going on. So, how did the inquiry committee go? Actually, they decided to treat this not as a case of concealing evidence, but as a communications error during the investigation. Concealing evidence? Yes, apparently there are some who believe that I concealed evidence. They gave me a warning. You were lucky this time. Again. Again? I've heard them say that so many times. Ever since that case 2 years ago. Are you okay for the trial tomorrow? Well, I'm still the presiding prosecuting attorney. However, something happened? They gave control of the investigation over to the police department. The police department? Yes. Any further investigation for this case will be directed by the Chief of Police Gant. I can do nothing but wait for his results. I see. Why, I ask you? Why? All along, I've done only what I believe is right. I have nothing to be ashamed of. But still. Wow, I've never seen him this out of sorts. Well, I wonder if he has anything to say about some of the stuff in the court record. I'm pretty sure we had a ID card record that has his card swiped here, right? Let's go ahead and present this to him and see what he has to say. Right? Oh, I guess we have to go back. Present. Let's present it. Oh, right. I better check this now. As I was saying, What's this? A record of ID card usage? Edgeworth, you went into that evidence room that day, didn't you? Just before the incident occurred, no less. Yes, that's true. Why, Mr. Edgeworth? Please don't look at me like that. I was asked to go. By Chief Gant, no less. Chief of Police? He wanted evidence for a case that wrapped up half a year ago. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. But it was solved, right? It would have to be if the evidence was already filed. The chief is never one to explain himself. The screwdriver, huh? This screwdriver kind of looks like the one that we found in the drawer in April May's hotel room, right? Suspicious. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. Can I ask what kind of case it was? I can't say. It really has nothing to do with the current case. Wow, this is a suspicious-looking face. Now I'm curious about this other case. I'd better make a note of it. Okay. Unrelated evidence in the court record. Stubborn as always. I told you this has nothing to do with the current case. Well, do we have anything else that might be useful? What about... Could it maybe be this? Oh, he looks mad. I'm sorry, Edgeworth. I know you. You've probably got a hold of some information already, right? It all has to do with that case you were on, the SL9 incident. And some dark suspicion you were wrapped up in. You were the man who revived the worst memory of my life. I figured I'd be telling you about this sooner or later. He must be talking about his father's murder in that elevator. Okay, Edgeworth, why don't you tell me about it? Tell me the truth. The SL9 incident was a heinous serial killing case. The head of the investigation was the deputy chief of police at the time, Damon Gant. That wacky old coot was involved in the case 2 years ago too, then? He was a top officer, and it was my first time working with him. I was nervous. Wow, you get nervous too, Mr. Edgeworth? What I want to know is why a deputy chief of police was... Why was a deputy chief of police on the investigation? You know, that's a really good point, Phoenix. You would think he'd be way too busy to be personally investigating crimes, right? In truth, I used slightly more extreme methods than normal. We were dealing with a vicious murderer. If I let him go, the blood would be on my hands. We won our guilty verdict, and the killer was executed. Oh, he was executed. Oh my goodness. Wait, you didn't. Of course not. I didn't touch the evidence. Yes, I will do anything in my power to win a trial. However, I do have a code, and I follow it faithfully. By the way, Emma, the chief prosecutor wanted to know something. My sister? What? If you were still studying forensic science? Huh? Yes, of course. Why, just today Mr. Wright and I were using this. Luminol testing fluid, Well then, you might have use for this. Oh, he's given us some more ammunition. For use in the field, right? Looks like some fingerprint dusting powder. Look at this little poof on a stick, huh? Aluminum powder for taking fingerprints? It's been chemically treated for better adhesion. For me? Are you sure? We are the enemy, you know. I've no say in today's investigation. Do as you will. Edgeworth. I'm really... No need to thank me. Here, take your powder and these fingerprint files for everyone involved. Thanks. How about giving these to Detective Gumshoe as well? Alright, so we can recover fingerprints from handprints for comparison with the fingerprint file. Well, let's get going. One last investigation. Right. I do seem to remember seeing a suspicious handprint somewhere. Yeah, absolutely right. Well, I think this would be the time for us to make our way back to that evidence room, right? Because we saw some handprints on the lockers. It would be good to know who they belong to. Let's get out of here. Let's move on back to the police departments and into what, the criminal affairs? No, the guard station. The guard station, that's right. And then into the evidence room. Here we go. Always a good sign to get another one of these title cards. Our investigation turned up a suspicious handprint. Here, in this blood on the detective's evidence locker. Let's use the secret weapon we just borrowed. Right, let's get started. First, choose a finger. A finger? Each finger leaves behind a slightly different imprint. So let's choose the finger that will have left behind the clearest print. I really can't tell the difference at a glance. Quit procrastinating and choose a finger. Probably this one, right? Because this is sort of to the side a bit. These are more faded. I would say this is probably the best choice right here, huh? Okay. Now it's time to check for prints. Let me show you how it's done. Emma's starting to get that sparkle in her eyes. Yeah, we're about to do some science here. First, we sprinkle the aluminum powder around. Huh? How do you do that? With the Enter key, see? Okay. Ah, it looks like that did the trick. The aluminum powder adheres completely to the print. Once the powder is well spread, just blow away the excess. Huh? How do I do that? With E. Exciting, I know. Yeah, that's right. I remember playing this on, what was it? The DS back in the day. And the DS had a microphone port, and you were supposed to blow into the microphone to blow away the excess powder. But that would probably be really annoying for you to hear me to blow into the microphone right now. All right. Imagine you're blowing out the candles on a birthday cake. See? Wow, that looks like fun. Might take some getting used to, though. It's fine. It won't go up your nose or anything. You just pour the powder on thick and blow away the extra. Those are the basics of fingerprinting, Mr. Wright. Guess I'd better give it a try. Alright, well, let's go ahead and drop the powder. We can move our cursor around and drop a bunch of powder all over the place, right? And then we can press E. Wow, look at that fingerprint. Let's put a little more powder on it. Aha! You did it! You found one! But this looks nothing like a fingerprint. Now that you mention it, I guess it doesn't. Oh, I bet the person was wearing gloves. What does it mean? I think it means we're out of luck. Out of luck? The person who left this handprint must have worn gloves. Don't tell me we've been wasting our time here. Hey, calm down. That's just the way it goes sometimes with scientific investigations. Yeah, that's true. Sometimes you don't find anything. But it does seem a shame. While we're at it, why don't we look for other prints? Other prints? Looking at the locker door again closely. It seems like there are fingerprints outside the bloody handprints as well. Let's see if we can find a clear print. Fingerprints outside the blood. Yeah, it looks like right here, huh? So we need to dust, dust, dust. And blow. Yeah, look at this. This one does look like a fingerprint. Maybe more down here. Yay! A print so clear it's dazzling. Nice. Dazzling? Anyway, this print took a lot of effort to find. Let's match it up right away. So we're not done yet? This is quite a process. Well, there's no point in finding a fingerprint and not knowing who the owner is, right? I guess she's right. Look at the fingerprint data we got from Mr. Edgeworth. And point out the person you think left these prints. Huh? How am I supposed to know who it was? I could make a pretty good guess. The bloody handprint and the fingerprints are in different places, right? That means that the prints probably don't have anything to do with our case. So, whose fingerprints would we most likely find on this evidence locker? Well, it's probably going to be Gumshoe, right? Because this is Gumshoe's evidence locker. I would be surprised to not find his fingerprints on his own evidence locker. Alright, we got fingerprints for a lot of different people here. Just about everybody involved, right? And I don't know about you, but they look basically identical to me, huh? We have a match. This is kind of cute, right? Aha! So these prints belong to Detective Gumshoe. Something wrong, Mr. Wright? You gave me this so what look. I guess that's probably because I was thinking, so what? Okay, so we came up with nothing this time, but there's always next time. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. You gotta roll with the punches, Mr. Wright. Thanks for the sympathy. Wait, if I remember correctly, there was one other handprint in this room. Let's check it out. There was another handprint in here, huh? Was it on this locker? This is where we got a luminol fluid reaction, right? Right! There was a handprint here. Okay. Want to try using this? There go her eyes sparkling again. Yeah, let's check it for prints. Okay, let's check it for prints. That's the spirit. Oh, but I have to warn you about something first. What? The area with the blood was wiped away, right? We only ended up finding it using chemical means. Any prints in that area will have been wiped away too. Oh, right. So that means no prints. Would you say the probability of your hypothesis is high? Don't ask me. Anyway, we must try to find prints that weren't wiped away. Prints other than the ones left by the bloody hand. Okay, well let's see if anything lights up here. Oops. Let's go through the dialogue again. I didn't mean to exit out of it. Let's check it for prints. What? The area with the blood was wiped away. Alright. We only found it with chemical means. Any prints in that area will have been wiped away. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. What about right here? Okay, so let's dust. And we can use a lot of dust because we're not paying for this aluminum powder. This is on Edgy's dime, right? Alright. Ooh, look at that one. That's a beauty. Let's make sure we got a real good print here. Nice. You like that? I wonder who it is. Is it Damon Gans? No, not Meekins. Ooh. It might be Jake Marshall, though. That looks pretty close. What do you think? I think this looks pretty close here. Up here, too. Yeah. These are pretty good fake fingerprints, right? Considering that these are video game characters that don't have hands. Making them. Do you think that they had, like, employees submit their fingerprints and they used them for the graphics? Let's go ahead and compare them. Aha, yes. The computer says we have a match. Hey, these fingerprints, they... Whose are they? Whose? Is it someone I know? It's Officer Marshall. Huh? Officer Jake Marshall. Marshall's fingerprints added to the court records. That's gotta be a coincidence. He's not involved in the crime. Emma. This is decidedly different from Detective Gumshoe's prints. The luminol reaction. The blood and the fingerprints are in the same place. Oh. Oh! So, we have Jake Marshall's fingerprints on a wiped blood stain. But why would Officer Marshall... It looks like our investigation is finally turning up some results. I guess this is what you'd call decisive evidence. I don't believe it. Wow, she doesn't want to believe Jake Marshall may be involved. It is hard to believe, right? You know, he seems like a lovable goof. A fish out of water, being a cowboy in Japan, right? All right, let's save our progress here. We're doing pretty good. We're making our way through this. Let's start day 3 here. We find ourselves back in court. So, what do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecution is as confused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in 2 different places at the same time, and a different suspect was arrested at each of the crime scenes. Lana! Good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologize for yesterday. I was indisposed. I hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So, how'd it go? It's as Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. A plea bargain? Wait a minute, wait a minute. You were striking a plea bargain without your attorney present? What kind of chief prosecutor are you? That sounds like some nonsense. She needs to have her lawyer present at the bare minimum. That doesn't make any sense. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind this simultaneous murder, they wouldn't seek capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. So she's gonna go ahead and plead guilty and tell them what happened, I guess, in exchange for not being put to death if she's found guilty. Wow. That's pretty crazy. And that's definitely not something you would decide on your own without your attorney, by the way. But Lana, don't tell me you... Much to my regret, I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Miss Skye. We found trace evidence of a certain person in the police department's evidence room. They belong to Officer Jake Marshall. What kind of trace evidence? Bloodstained fingerprints, to be exact. That's the trump card I have up my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're going to accuse Mr. Marshall? We have to play the cards we're dealt. Isn't that right, Miss Skye? Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright. Oh boy. Well, let's see who's on the witness stand first. Court is now in session for the trial of Ms. Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is... I'm afraid you'll have to clarify. It takes 30 minutes by car to reach the police department from the prosecutor's office. Yet the victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain at both places at the same time. But that's not physically possible, is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappeared. Yes, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Wow, this is one messed up trial. One of my duties as prosecutor is to present impartial evidence. Today I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. In so doing, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. Now that's what set Mr. Edgeworth apart. He sounds so on top of things. Even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. Yeah, good point. He is always projecting confidence, right? That's our edgy. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait? Very well. Let the trial resume. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand. For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department. Wow! The suspect? You mean the so-called murderer? You must be talking about Officer Meekins, right? Ooh boy. Things are getting wild from the get-go. There he is. There's our guy. Will the witness please state his name and occupation? Yes, sir. I am Officer Mike Meekins, sir. My occupation is, that would be murderer, sir. That's not your occupation. That's not your job. So you're telling us you're a professional killer? Sir, it was me, sir. I'm the one who did it. I'll never kill anyone again, sir. You gotta believe me, sir. Wow, this guy's a mess. Sir, I'm what you would call part of the younger generation, sir. A person whose actions adults can't possibly comprehend. Please, Mr. Edgeworth, sir, help me, sir. Officer Meekins. Yes, sir. Give us your report of the crime. Consider that an order. Yes, sir, as you wish. After all, I'm part of a generation that must be told what to do, sir. You can't fault him for a lack of enthusiasm. Yeah, that's a good point. He is enthusiastic, even when he shouldn't be. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life. Then I did it. After that, I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. Wow. Pretty intense. But also extremely vague, right? We've got to get more detail here. So the victim, Detective Goodman, attacked you? Do unto others before they do unto you. Wow, that's quite the saying. That's the Meekins family motto, sir. I see. Then you fainted, and a colleague helped you regain consciousness. Yes, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. What I need here is more info to work with. Okay, well, let's press this guy for more info. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. Mr. Meekins, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not? Yes, sir. I'm in charge of hiring new recruits, sir. Yikes. Now there's a scary thought. Evidence transferal was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir. The Blue Badger? Yes, sir. The lovely police mascot created by the Chief of Detectives, sir. Oh yeah, this guy, right? I was to ensure it wasn't broken during the transferal process. That was my sole mission for the day, sir. Wow, there's your tax dollars at work, guarding this thing. Look how surprised the judge is. I see. Sounds like a very, important mission. After the awards ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. Oh, so that's why you went to the evidence room. Tell us, what did you see when you got there? I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and I rushed into the room. In order to enter the evidence room, you need an ID card, am I correct? Precisely, sir. I have one right here around my neck. So then, your ID number should be listed on here, right? There it is! I found it! This is the one right here. Could you please read us the number? Yes, sir. It's 498-9596. That's my number, sir. I see. Huh? But the number 498-9596 is shown as being used twice. That's right. So between when Edgeworth and Bruce Goodman's IDs were scanned in, right? These before and after Bruce Goodman. Please explain, witness. It's no real mystery, sir. The first time is when I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. And the second time is when I went to go get him after everything settled down. I see. So it was during that second time when... Yes, sir. That was when I spotted the man on the security screen. Okay. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. So you were attacked. Can you please tell us exactly what happened to you? It was a knife, sir. A knife! Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you. What happened then? Well, with me charging in on him like that, he looked as surprised as I was. You aren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into. That's when I reacted, sir. I swung my arms like an octopus, struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand. Maybe if you just kept your cool, your hand wouldn't be... When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. I grabbed the man by his collar. I fought for my life. Then I did it! What exactly do you mean when you say you did it? I know I don't look the type, but I'm really into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him. Wow, nice play, Meekins. You grabbed the dude's knife. You took his knife? I spun him around and performed a disarming maneuver. I made sure to close my eyes like a man. I don't think that's what you're supposed to do, Meekins. I see. He must have been desperate. The next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of my blood. And then the next thing I knew... Yes? He punched me right in my face, sir. After that, I passed out until another officer smacked me awake. About what time did you regain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I was unconscious. Oh. Right. According to the report from the officer that woke up the witness, it was about 5:30. He hit me right in the head, too. Wow, so this guy was knocked out for 15 minutes. He was out cold. I think he ought to go to the hospital. I think he needs to get checked for a concussion. That sounds like a pretty serious injury to me. I woke up crying tears of pain. That's nice. I mean, it's nice that you recovered, that is. When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir. Your mission? Yes, sir. The Blue Badger, sir. I returned him to the entrance before things got out of hand. Well, we can all rest easy now. I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened. Yes, Your Honor. Only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered really the victim? He's got a point. Yes, Officer Meekins? With regard to that, sir, take a look at this. It was sent to my jail cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me just this morning, sir. The chief? Delivered it? What is that? A videotape? Yes, sir. That's absolutely right, sir. A videotape, sir. It contains footage from the security camera in the evidence room. What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape, and was told it had been mistakenly erased. That's quite a mistake. I just do what I'm told, sir. It's the only thing I'm really good at. Looks like communication with the police department is as good as ever. Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering the victim. Oh, please stop using that word murder, sir. It scares me. What a brave dude. A video of a real murder. Just what are we getting ourselves into? Oh, there's our victim. The glove fell out of the evidence locker. There's Meekins. Oh my gosh! Oh, it's so brutal. Oh my gosh, Meekins is knocked out. Where's the other guy, though? Oh my god, look at Edgeworth. He's so mad. Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us? What the hell was that wriggling piece of plywood? Sir, that is the pride and joy of the entire Criminal Affairs Department, sir. It's the Blue Badger, sir. Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly? Alright, so the security video has now been added to the court record. Looking good. Okay. Yes, well, anyway. This tape seems to prove that the witness did indeed encounter, someone in the evidence room. And some sort of, activity. Your Honor, instead of relying on clearly incompetent footage, The witness's testimony will suffice. Is that all right with you, Officer Meekins? Yes, sir. As you wish, sir. His face can't be clearly seen in the video, but there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. What's this about a fingerprint? Each detective has been given a locker equipped with a fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can only be opened by the detective it belongs to. Intriguing. That would mean the victim at the crime scene would have to have been Detective Goodman. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. I don't know where this cross-examination will lead. But everything begins with contradictions. That's where I have to start. All right. Let's find some contradictions here. His face can't be clearly seen in the video, but there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. Is that true? However, the most important detail is not shown in this video. The man's face. Sir. If I may say something, sir. Please do. After all, you are the one being examined. I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened the fingerprint lock, and it was his hand that tried to thrust his knife into my body, sir. You know, I can't help but notice he's saluting in his ID photo, too. It's a nice little touch. My unsettled state can testify enough to this, sir. Yes, you have a point. The footage doesn't lie. That is, unless the defense can find a problem with it? Mr. Wright, let's check the court record again. Okay. Is there a problem with the security video? Well, there must be a problem, right? Regarding the video contained on this tape, there is one thing in particular that seems rather strange. Strange? This contradiction leads to the possibility that the man may not have been Detective Goodman. Yeah, absolutely. It could have been an imposter, right? Someone sus? What? This video contains such a contradiction? Interesting. Your Honor, I have a proposal. Yes, Mr. Edgeworth? I propose we have the defense point out to us this alleged contradiction in the video. He would want me to point it out. Very well, proposal accepted. Let us further inspect this piece of evidence. I will now play the security tape. Mr. Wright, please show us this contradiction you speak of. I have to point out a problem in the video? This is the first time I've ever had to do that. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing. Please don't play it too many times. I can't stand watching this video. How did this guy ever become a police officer? Now then, Mr. Wright, please enlighten us. Where is the contradiction that indicates... Okay. Alright, so I'm noticing something strange here. And I don't know if you noticed it. What's going on here? Why is the light on over this locker? And it's off on all the other lockers. To me, this seems to indicate it might be open already, right? The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. Officer Meekins. Sir? Do you mean me, sir? As I understand it, the locker apparatus works like this. When you grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint. If it's a match, the light turns on and the lock is released. According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir. If so, then something is seriously wrong with this picture. It's unlocked. So did Bruce Goodman leave his locker unlocked for someone? When the victim reaches for the handle to open the locker, let's rewind to a little earlier. Just showing again, it's already on. Here, notice the light? What's this? It's already lit. Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open before the victim grabbed the handle. Oh! Order! Order! What's the meaning of this? It's very simple, Your Honor. The locker wasn't locked on the day of the crime. The locker locks are controlled by an electronic system. When a door is shut, a sensor is triggered, and the locker is automatically locked. Oh, I know. It must have broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction. Oh well, it just goes to show novices should keep their mouths shut. So then, Mr. Wright, do you have an explanation? Me, Your Honor? Yes. Why wasn't the locker locked? Me, Your Honor? Yes, well, you see, this isn't exactly my field. What do you think, Miss Scientific Investigator? Huh? Oh, maybe something like jam the system sensor? Something jam the sensor. Say. There's something else that seems out of place in this video. Yeah, I thought so too. There's gotta be another clue in somewhere in this footage. Very well, let's inspect the video once more. The locker wasn't locked. Mr. Wright, please point out the cause for this. I think it's probably that glove that fell out, right? When Goodman, or whoever it is, opens the locker, there's a glove that falls out. Right there. You see it? Let's try presenting that. Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. Spares us the video. Sorry, the audio on this video and the replay. Unless you like the Blue Badger theme. What's this? Something white fell out of the locker. But sir, it's been my experience that things fall out when doors are opened. I often fall out and roll great distances when I open my car door, sir. We can't be sure that item was completely inside the locker to begin with. What do you mean? The sensor triggers the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door? Inserted? Mm-hmm. Going back to the tape again. This white thing wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor. Oh, I understand now, sir. It's just like my tie. 2 out of 3 times it gets stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Instead of the door closing, my tie chokes me. But the object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door. Not only that, it would also have to block electrical currents. It would need to be an insulator. Yes, an insulator. But at the crime scene, there just might have been something that fits the description. But sir, by insulator, you don't mean... I think I finally got this figured out. Very well. Will the defense please present the relevant evidence? What was this insulator that was stuck in the locker door? I think it was a rubber glove, right? This one right here. I found this near the locker, a thin rubber glove. But we can't be sure that was in the victim's locker. It has a tag on it that says SL9 incident. The video seems to depict the victim opening the locker. But that isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to this. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. Is that not so, Officer Meekins? Sir, it would appear so, sir. Wow. What a shock. Order, order, order. So, are we to believe then that the victim, whom this witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman? Do not be misled, Your Honor. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility, and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this. What? Officer Meekins, please testify about this. Sir, me, sir? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. Oh, you mean that, sir? Of course, sir. Is this a joke? Very well, begin your testimony. There's one other thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his ID card. Oh, hey, Rizo, how you doing? Good to see ya. You like this guy the best, huh? It had to have been this guy, right? He used the ID card. Okay, an ID card record. I see. I have the ID card record right here, Your Honor. So we've got Bruce Goodman, the victim, used at 5:14, and we have Meekins before and after. Who went in there on 4:20? This 7777777. So 7 sevens, huh? I would put money on it that this is the big boss, the chief of police, huh? Seems like a pretty important number to give to a random person. All right. Just before the crime, Yes, without a doubt, this is the victim's ID. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transferal. Why were there so few people using this room? This particular evidence room is only used for storing certain special cases. Special cases? Yeah, must be special. Yeah, it could be an admin card. Yeah, good question, Virtue. Which one is better, Apex Legend or Valorant? I need the 411 on that. That's some important info that I need. Extremely violent cases involving police staff. Oh, so all the inside job stuff. That's where they hide all the special evidence. Just hearing that makes my hair stand on end. Me too. Although it doesn't make much of a difference. Now, that's true. Phoenix's hair is already pretty spiky. There were only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleared up by noon. Right. I see. Now, let's move on to the cross-examination. Okay. There's one other thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. Do you have to, though? Are you sure about that? What if you dropped it randomly somewhere else? Let's try presenting this ID card. What do you think about this, buddy? Huh? Wait one moment, Officer Meekins. I'm not good at waiting, sir. I have the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene. That makes sense. No, no, no. When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. That's right, 30 minutes away, somewhere else entirely. Your Honor, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card. Lost item report? It's only half completed. But it shows that Detective Goodman had lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess, you believe this something to be his ID card, right? I can't say for sure, but there is a high probability. Yeah, I agree with you, Phoenix. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card. Oh. Order! Order! So now, what does this all mean? It can only mean one thing. It doesn't even require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID card. Oh my God, who was it? Ooh. Order! 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 Does the prosecution have a response? I have only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo? Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 p.m. on the day of the crime, the man in the evidence room Officer Meekins encountered was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes? What's he up to? He might be doing something suspicious. Oh, you want me to play Apex with you, huh? I'm warning you in advance. I am terrible at stuff that requires movement through space. I have some kind of like depth perception problem with FPS games. So if you're ready to watch me like fall off the edge of the map for no reason, I can do that. I'm real good at that. Nah, I'll give anything a try. Virtue, you know I'm telling the truth. I'm only good at stuff that it has either like an AoE effect or your skill shot has like a conal effect. So at least I have like a shotgun ability, you know? I can hit something in front of me. You watch me play Dark Souls 3, that... Yeah? I don't know about that. Yeah, you want me to start playing the Souls games, huh? All about it. Should I start with a legit Souls game, or should I start with Bloodborne or something? You're just... Oh, right. Elden Ring. Hey, you know what? Maybe I should. Maybe I should play Elden Ring. I gotta get a capture card set up, though, I think. And then I can play some of that stuff. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna get any better at playing 3D games if I don't play them, right? You gotta do that stuff that you're not good at. You gotta challenge yourself, right? That's how you get strong. Alright, yes. What is he up to? Edgeworth is trying to trick us into something. That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. If the victim in this video was a fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also a fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. That is... well, I guess that's right. Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago, you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't gonna end well. Oh, no, no, no. Well, well. It seems you finally realized exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove. Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth. The defense has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake, which means a murder did not take place at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime. So the real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office, the murderer being Ms. Lana Skye, the defendant. The evidence is compelling. A trustworthy witness observed the moment the defendant used the murder weapon. Whoa! Yeah, dude, you shot a hole in your own theory. Right? We at least could bring in some kind of reasonable doubt that this guy was murdered in two different places 30 minutes apart at the same time, right? I knew that testimony was way too shabby. It was all a trap from the beginning. It's a trap. The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman. Just so, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, you have to do something or else Lana... What do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this mess? Well, you gotta use the only weapon you've got, dude. You gotta object. One moment, Your Honor. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not. But I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? This cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. Now there's Meekins, knocked out. Is there a handprint on the badger? Or is it paint? However, it cannot be said that it is unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Right? Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defense demands further examination into the truth of the matter. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor? If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses will be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared? I'm sorry, Your Honor. The prosecution considered the incident at the police department to be unrelated. We have not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. Mr. Wright, do you mean... Your Honor, the defense would like to request a specific witness. Oh? Whom do you have in mind? Someone we have reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. The prosecution requests to hear this person's name before deciding whether or not to comply. Very well then, Mr. Wright. This person whom you would have testify. What is his or her name? Alright, well, we were already told to bring a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. That's gotta be this guy. There aren't a whole lot of cowboys in this lineup here. Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? I can't let Edgeworth know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. The prosecution agrees to the defense's request. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. We should need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Very well. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time? We will, Your Honor. Court is now in recess. All right. They're going out to grab Jake and bringing him in. He's going to testify here. There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you've figured everything out. I haven't figured anything out. Lana, you're the one who knows everything. Emma, you always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me? Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Hey, it's Gumshoe! Alright, what's up, Gumshoe? Good to see you, dude. This is our favorite detective. Oh. Yes, I am. I'll come back later. Oh, Gumshoe! Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? He had to have had a reason to show up, right? You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here? I've seen happier people at funerals. Sorry, Detective. You better be, pal. Hey, 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 hey! I didn't see you there, Chief Prosecutor Skye. That's okay. So, have you brought what I asked? Oh, ho, 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 ho. You mean this, right? My apologies, Detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Could I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy. The SL9 incident? But Lana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright might need them too, so I had them brought here. Oh, I wonder what the SL9 case has to do with this one, right? Here, you might do well to read them. Can't believe you, the chief prosecutor, were a witness in that case. This guy was a witness? She was a witness, huh? This is a really high-profile case. Solved 2 years ago. Files for the Joe Dark killings. Take it from me, you don't want anything to do with serial murderers. Yeah, I have to say that's a good rule of thumb there, Gumshoe, is don't hang out with serial murderers. I do my best. Alright, let's take a look at this file. So, we have the SL9 incident considered closed. The perpetrator was Joe Dark, a serial murderer who was sentenced to death. The victims, okay, we have Edward Jones, like the, aren't they an investment corporation, something like that? Edith Kirby, Jeb Bates, Jason Knight, Rachel Moss, and Neil Marshall. I wonder if Neil Marshall is related to Officer Jake Marshall, or if it's just a coincidence. Head prosecutor Miles Edgeworth, witnesses Lana Skye and Emma Skye. So both Lana and Emma were witnesses in the SL9 incident. Who was on the investigation? We had Damon Gant and Lana Skye were the executive investigators. Bruce Goodman was the head investigator, and then Jake Marshall and Angel Starr were also working on that investigation. So if Jake Marshall was related to Neil Marshall, that would definitely be highly improper for him to work on the investigation of the murder of one of his relatives, right? So maybe this is just a a coinky-dink, as they say. All right. Well, let's head on back here and keep talking. Oh, what? Now that I brought you your stuff, you're just gonna ignore me? Emma? But why? Why is your name in here? What? My name's in there? I don't know. Unless... No, it couldn't be. Lana! This SL9 incident, is that? That's the classification number the police filed it under. 2 years ago, the rest of the world knew it as the Joe Dark killings. The Joe Dark... No! No, Lana! That's over with! No! Emma, wait! She ran away. Oh man, Emma is super upset. You know what? I just remembered I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here. Oh man. Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. This can't just be a coincidence. I agree, Phoenix. There's way too much going in the same direction here for it to be a coincidence. Knowing you, you just might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I better take a good look at this file. All right, another opportunity to save. Go ahead and save all this great progress. We're kicking so much butt. So the 30-minute recess is up. Now it's time to get back to court proceedings. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Ms. Lana Skye. Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Is he drinking on the stand? Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me, partner? Oh, I'm just a man, same as you, wandering the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly cross intersections when needed. Yes, we get it. Oh, I know, you're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In plain old English. All right, let's get that testimony. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at a street-side saloon at the time it went down. Oh, so he was at a bar drinking when he was supposed to be guarding the evidence room at a police department. Dude, this is not good. This is not what you want to do to be successful working your way up the career ladder at a police department. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines, or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Okay, time for the cross-examination, right? My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at a street-side saloon at the time it went down. Well then, why do we have your fingerprints, right? Where are those fingerprints? We have them here somewhere, don't we? Ah, right here. What do you think about this, bud? Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this? After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. That's true, he left a bloody handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects. That is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness, what is the meaning of this? Your bloodstained fingerprints were at the crime scene? The blood was wiped away. However, a luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? It seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. Take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall? About the blood-stained fingerprints? Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints, found at the scene of the crime. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be found in that evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the blood-stained handprints. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. Okay, so he's arguing that it's just a coincidence. His fingerprints are all over that room, and then the murderer touched a locker where his fingerprint already happened to be. Okay. The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I had nothing to do with it. The witness's explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something, I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. Why? That's because you, how did you put it, pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That and one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently, his fingerprint data was never removed from that locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without ever knowing it. Alright, so we have his fingerprints updated on the court record. It's on Marshall's own locker. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the bloodstained handprint. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? The murderer was wearing gloves? How does he know that? How do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports. There was a bloodstain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer, wearing gloves, happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint. That's the only logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? The seal of blood in the desert is just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. So long as my trial isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. Oh, my trail. So long as my trail ain't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video was next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now. Okay, let's show some evidence. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us this incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall. More of this, huh? Back and forth. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I saw something different at the end. I saw an anomaly. Let's fast forward a bit here. Fast forward. Ooh. Then when we go back over here, cloth wasn't there earlier in the video, and now all of a sudden it is. Uh-huh. I got you, dude. Let's present that. Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. See? That locker with the white cloth sticking out? That was the witnesses, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Looks like there's a handprint on the blue badger. Oh, the white cloth. It's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then, it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Busted. Order! Order! Hold on to your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened a locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I opened that locker? Now prove it. Well? Here we go. Let's prove it by presenting this that says only the assigned detective's prints can unlock it, right? Fingerprint sensor? Oh, he's sweating now! We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? Oh, look at him! Oh, he's so mad! I only got 1 word for you, partner. No! We got you, bud. Order, order, order! Witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst joke I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Olay! Please answer the question. Olay? Okay, Judge. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's all right, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure out the rest from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet, Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right, the only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? Okay, well, we know that Meekins was in the room with another person. That has to be Marshall, right? It's gotta be this guy right here. Officer Marshall was standing right here. There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct. Unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you, dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his ID card, sir. Yes? And how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You've got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I was dressed up as the victim. Can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Well, oh, am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. This can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? No. It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you've run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside of the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise, but rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later, as it has been. which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, so this video's my only shot. Very well. Let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker. Wow, look at all this blood. It's blocking his face, so we can't see Jake Marshall here, but if we could find this trench coat, we might be able to...
Take that!
For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end. Yet? However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you, and when asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, partner. Think we got him. Now then, Officer Marshall. Are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago. If you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. All right. Seems like the time has come. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's only one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. Yeah, I agree. That puddle of blood, that's way more than we would have had just cutting a hand. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So, you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card? I stole that the morning of the incident. So, that really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself. But you could because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. All coming together now. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a one-in-a-million type person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way. With me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh man, you mean this one? The one he's using to shave himself on the stand? I don't know what to say. So you knocked Officer Meekins out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. So, you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So, what you're saying is, on that day, there wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So, you stole the evidence from the locker? Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened up the locker, evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Not good. Missing evidence. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID? Injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. Hmm? The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? Yeah, I think it has something to do with the case files here. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? Oh, so Neil Marshall was a prosecutor. He must be talking about the King of Prosecutors Award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. This was only 2 years ago, Edgeworth. Come on. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed, and the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. Yeah, you can see the family resemblance, huh? Right down to the same cowboy hat. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, the then Deputy Chief of Police. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. Incinerated. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed. At least, according to public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. That's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day of the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happen by chance never cease to amaze me. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than just that. So, if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one. Which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. Wow, pointing the finger at her again, huh? But wait, a verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me this boy's got the draw on you, partner. Of all the mysteries, all of the mysteries at the police department have been resolved. No doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. And the testimony of one Ms. Angel Starr is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. Ugh. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was fake. But I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. Yeah, I know, that's pretty concerning. That's not what we wanted to have happen. Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant. Hold it. Oh! Yeah, Emma, Your Honor. Wait. Emma? The defense has an objection, a scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor? Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Skye sisters were in that file. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing, the other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So, I ran over there and looked at it again. So, did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them... Please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be... Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If ever I needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? Yeah, we gotta object. There's no choice but objection. This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is your grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn out on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's gotta be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans? Well, the only thing that isn't in those floor plans, I think, is this guy right here, right? The blue badger. What about that piece of plywood? The blue badger, the mascot of the police force. Defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The blue badger is not here. So? So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well? Well, what? That's right. So long as the blue badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the locker. What? So that means, just exactly what does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me. I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think it out scientifically. Emma. On that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the blue badger to that evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the blue badger was brought in. Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. That's right. The mysterious time with the 777 ID card, right? Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murderer portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To summarize, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room. That's right, the blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well, then tell us. When did this first incident occur? As Mr. Edgeworth said, proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place? Well, that's got to be the record, right? The ID card record, showing who's going in and out of the room. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it. And in order to do so, an ID card would have been required. An ID card? Oh, the ID card record. Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50 p.m. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m. Ah! Ah! Miles Edgeworth? Just what have you done? I never would have figured you had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure it out. It couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. Huh? I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. That's right, it must have been somebody else before Edgeworth. Let's look at the chart again. Had to have been this person. There's only one other card number remaining, 777-7777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 777-7777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number is 777-7777. That's 17 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least, at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 777-7777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Oh, wow. So it's somebody high up in the ranks. someone who is a so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we can be granted such an authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge. You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course, we've looked up her ID number, and it's not 7777777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Calling him out right there. Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Lana! I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look at me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to do in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana, even if it involved forging evidence, no good. What a shame. See? That's what I'm talking about. No! Oh, wow. Order, 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 order! What an uproar, right? Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. Oh my goodness. All the drama. This is really trying to trip us up here. Oh, we're back at the offices. Okay. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dark killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. Lana wanted Dark convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean, what happened to you? It's all there in the file. Joe Dark's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dark tried to kill me. Whoa, that's pretty scary. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was only trying to save me. So that means you? Yes. I was a witness in the Joe Dark trial. I didn't see that one coming. Let's ask her some questions about it. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of the year, too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then, suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. Joe Dark. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Dark tried to take me hostage, but before he could, Mr. Marshall attacked him. Then, what happened? I'll never forget it. Whoa. Lightning struck and the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. A permanent picture? I don't remember the moment when Dark stabbed Mr. Marshall. So you weren't able to testify about that? No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumors about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true, even though he may not have known it. Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Emma. What did you see in the instant that crime occurred? Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. Gosh, Emma's been through some trauma. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently, I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. You've been through so much. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that incident. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago, you must have been 14. That's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I wanted to be able to fight crime with my testimonies. and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge any. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at that time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course. This happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office. But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Because the detective's offices and the questioning room are right across from the elevator. Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly. Didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. Oh, yeah. There you go. She was the best in the entire force. What? That's news to me. After the Joe Dark case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. Lana used to be a detective? I'd better have another talk with her. Yeah, we better go talk to Lana. This definitely changes things. She's gotta know more than she's letting on. It has to be, right? Lana. Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence? I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul, so why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. She's bringing up a good point. Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details, especially about that unusual change of jobs? I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen as well, though I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. That trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, at 5:15, there was no murder at the police department. Tell me it's not true, Lana, what the witness, Miss Starr, said. About you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so fazed before. It's true, I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing. They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together. Chief Gant? He was the deputy chief of police back then, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant. He was everything I aspired to be. They were the absolute best team ever. They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed. Emma really idolizes her big sister. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes so you could use that experience in court, right? Gant's help in the SL9 case was crucial to its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Dark. Second in command? That means the investigation lead was Damon Gant, right? Yes. Deputy Chief Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. They even had the same office. We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall, and Angel Shaw. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gung-ho. Alright, so Jake got to work on a case with his brother Neil. Without a doubt, Joe Dark was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when his final murder took place. When he tried to murder Emma. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Dark. From Drake. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Now you tell us. Damon Gant and Neil Marshall were the ones questioning Dark that day. The investigation was in its final stages, and Dark must have suddenly panicked. So he waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down, then fled the room. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Chief Deputy Gant and myself. That's where he found me. So you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana? It appears so. I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Dark. Wow. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. 3 bodies? Prosecutor Marshall, the victim, Emma, who had passed out, and the suspect, Joe Dark. During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Dark had incurred a minor concussion and lay unconscious. What did you do? To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room, and just held her. Can't blame her. After all, her sister must have gone through. That's right, I can't blame her after all the sister went through. And that's pretty traumatic. After that, I placed Dark on immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. You were all involved in the SL9 incident? That's right. Quite a coincidence, huh? I don't buy it. What are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident just by chance. But that case was solved 2 years ago. At least one person went to extremes because they didn't feel it was truly solved. Officer Marshall. Yes, his actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Dark. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Dark at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon Gant and I shared. The office that Mr. Gant now occupies by himself, the chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the chief's office. the site of the final SL9 murder. Alright, well, if that's the case, then we gotta get down to the police department, right? I guess we're gonna go to the criminal affairs department? I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things seem kind of quiet around here today. You're right. The chief of detectives seems the same, though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right. We can come back here later. Alright. So let's go to the police department entrance now. Hey, it's Jake Marshall again. Howdy, Bambina. Oh, Mr. Marshall. I never thought things would turn out this way when I woke up this morning. Que sera, sera. Right? Whatever will be, will be. You never know where life will lead you, eh, Bambina? I should have known my luck had run out when old Billy dried up this morning. Billy? Must be his pet cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Sorry, but you can't go in the evidence room today, partner. But, Mr. Marshall, why did you do it? Why do prospectors head west? If ever there was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was that one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Huh. Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean, fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon. The murder weapon? You mean that switchblade knife with the broken tip? That was Joe Dark's, all right. But in the initial autopsy report, a question was raised. A question? The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound the victim had sustained. What does that mean? It means there's a good chance that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Could the facts have been concealed with forged evidence? That case left behind scars on all of us. The scars that the SL9 incident left behind? Yeah, there's a lot of them. I got the looks, but he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I had just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together. How old was he, your brother? He was 27 at the time. Wow, he was young. He was awarded the highest honor that very day. The highest honor? You mean the King of Prosecutors. I knew it. What are you looking at me like that for? That's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother. The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as... That's right. It was the day of the evidence transferal. Interesting. It was drizzling that morning, and by nightfall there was thunder. Can't believe 2 years have gone by already. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently someone tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Miss Starr was fired, and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him, too, the commissioners would get suspicious. No, they were careful enough not to be too obvious. Hey, who are you talking about? Don't get upset, Bambina. I mean Damon Gant and Lana Skye. The investigation lead, Damon Gant, and his second-in-command, Lana Skye. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of this duo. That case was the biggest step in both of their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah, Damon Gant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. You used the Bob Ross emote, huh? I like that one too. Oh man. I love Bob Ross. He's great. Okay. She's never been the same since she left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Skye was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too. Tell me, what happened to my sister? Sorry, Bambina, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. Lana's secret. It all started 2 years ago. So there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. But someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gant. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame you. I wouldn't even be a patrolman after today. Too bad I won't be around to work with you when you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina. Oh man, are we ever gonna see Jake again? I hope we see him once more. Okay, well, we need to go into the underground parking lot, right? We go to the Criminal Affairs Department. Let's go to the Criminal Affairs Department and see if we can go into the department's chief's office. This place is always pretty empty, but today it's deserted. That must mean everyone's busy solving crimes. Oh, if you're looking for the others, they're all in the conference room. Thanks. Wow, he actually talked to us. With the chief prosecutor saying what she did, and the decision about what to do about Mr. Edgeworth, not to mention our statement to the media in tomorrow's trial, there's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. I think festive is the word usually used for those. Sir? We'd like to have a look around Chief Gant's office. Just use the connecting hallway to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor. Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything. Hey, you're right. You can't go in there. It's off limits. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office. Alright, well, let's head over there before anyone stops us, am I right? Whoa, what the heck is going on here? This is a very strange looking place. Oh, and look at the picture. Wow, okay. Whoa, where am I? In the chief's office, silly. At least that's what it said on the door. Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it? Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Bach. I thought I was a genius until they tried teaching me notes. I never could remember where C was. Huh? Oh, it's you two. Chief Gant. He put that paper he was reading in his desk. So, righto. Have you been swimming lately? No, I haven't. I've been kind of busy lately. I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full too, with Mr. Marshall's misconduct and Lana's provocative statement. Provocative statement? Oh, you mean about the forged evidence. 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how time flies. See that big picture on the wall over there? That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me. Wait a minute. Are they standing in front of that weird vase that we put together? I recognize the handle here. So, this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something's not right with this picture. I can't quite seem to put my finger on it, though. The photo from the awards ceremony, huh? Anyway, I'd like to reminisce all day, but there are matters that need my attention. I'm going to lock up here, so let's go out together. Oh, this office... It was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it? That case has long since been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd still like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there's no need to investigate it anymore. Now hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend. Looks like we aren't welcome. It seems that case isn't over with yet after all. What do you mean? Chief Gant denied our request to search the crime scene. That means there must be a reason he doesn't want us looking around in there. You mean like a clue? There's gotta be a way we can get inside the chief's office. Can we just go back in? Oh. More typing here, that's a good sign. Hey, pal. Hey, it's Gumshoe. Detective Gumshoe. Are you supposed to be in a meeting? I'm, just taking a breather. My feet hurt. From sitting so long? Actually, from serving everyone coffee. Sounds like Detective Gumshoe's still out of the loop. Say, have either of you seen Mr. Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No, why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battle's between you two in court. That sounds serious. Is it because of what my sister said? That's basically what it all boils down to. That falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood. Yikes. Why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye is the guilty party here, isn't she? Regardless, a prosecutor is responsible for the evidence they present in court. Not only that, but as you know, there have been a lot of rumors going around about Mr. Edgeworth. His amazing talent as a prosecutor has kept him safe from those who don't like him. But now, with this, are there really so many people who hate him? In our world, only those with talent rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth not only has that, but he's young. There's no better recipe I know of for making enemies. Hey, Dick, keep up the good work. Yes, sir. Let's go out for lunch again sometime. My treat. Yes, sir. You gotta take me back to that joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir. It seems you don't have any problems with enemies. Yeah, well, I'm careful not to stick out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth just might crack. Actually, I took a look at the file earlier while the coffee was brewing. He seems genuinely concerned for Edgeworth. Well, did you find out anything? The only evidence Dark left behind was during his final attack. His final attack? You mean when he killed Prosecutor Marshall, who was trying to protect some girl? Me. It seems Detective Gumshoe never realized Emma was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all. Well, what was it? Oh, let's see. I think it had something to do with the murder weapon. Oh, I forget. Look, it's all written somewhere in here, okay? His powers of recollection never fail to impress. Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory. Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. We should show him the murder weapon. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. We're gonna present this one? No, not this one. This one. Right? The switchblade. About this. Hey, is that... It has a tag attached to it with the label SL9 incident on it. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of. What are you doing with that? Ever since that case was closed, that knife's been locked away in a locker. On the day Detective Goodman was murdered, this suddenly disappeared from the locker and was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler. That's it. Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me. Well, what is it, Detective? Quick, before you forget again. Alright, what do you have to say? Ah, you got a couple more things here. Joe Dark was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. A businessman? What made him take to serial killing? Must be a sociopath. One day on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car. With his car? So it was an accident? An accident, yes, but it transformed him into an animal. An animal. He killed a man that witnessed the accident. Then he killed a woman. He killed a kid that walked by just then, so he killed him too. The jogger came upon the scene and was killed as well. Finally, he turned himself in. Oh my gosh, he killed a whole bunch of people. Seems he was a pretty careless animal. Of course, this is all conjecture. I mean, to me that really sounds more like a spree killing than a serial murder, because serial murder implies that you have separate incidents taking place, whereas something like this, like a spree killing, is a bunch of murders all taking place within a short period of time and within sort of the general same area, right? But anyway, I guess we'll call him a serial murderer. Of course, this is all conjecture. There wasn't a single shred of evidence. So, he turned himself in. Yes, but in the middle of his questioning, he fled and murdered his final victim, Prosecutor Marshall. That crime was witnessed by someone too, but luckily, Dark was arrested on the spot. It's a good thing that last witness wasn't killed. That last witness, aka Emma. This knife, it was Joe Dark's, wasn't it? That's right. We traced it back to the store he bought it at. Plus, it had his fingerprints on it too. But no one actually witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right? That's where his luck ran out. When you take a good look at that knife, you'll see it's broken. No kidding, dude. It's pretty obvious. You don't have to take a good look to notice that. Yeah, well, anyway. Take a guess where the broken off tip of the knife was found. That's what did him in. Where was it? The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it inside his own body. It was found deep inside the stab wound. Did it match Dark's knife? You bet, down to the last fiber. That's pretty conclusive. Neil's autopsy report added to the court record. Okay, stabbed in the back, died from a punctured heart and lung. A knife tip was in the wound. He was stabbed in the back? How did this guy get the drop on Neil? Was he, like, over Emma? Was he, like, kind of sheltering her? Switchblade knife. Okay. Broken tip was found in the victim's body, belonged to murderer Joe Dark. Well, there you have it in a nutshell. Let's take a look at it real quick here. Now that we have the... Oh, we don't have the tip of the knife, do we? Mm-hmm. Nothing new to see here. All right, well, I guess we have to just keep moving. Well, there you have it in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money you need, you should ask Chief Gant. It's not money, but it does concern the chief. His office is a crime scene, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered. The chief's out now, and his office is locked. But we'd like to have a look around, if that's okay. Well, any detective's ID card can unlock the door. What? Really? But if I let a civilian in there, I'd be charged with breach of trust. Breach of trust? Simply put, I'd be canned. Oh. Sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you. How about this ID card? It was Detective Goodman's. That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died. Oh. So in other words, Gumshoe is our only chance of getting into that office. I wonder if there's something we could show him that would make him change his mind. Is there something that we can show him? I don't really know. Boy, this is pretty tough. Well, maybe if we keep investigating at the crime scene, we'll find something, right? Let's go to the entrance of the police department. And then back to the crime scene and see if there is anything or anyone here. No one's here today, not even Miss Starr. Everyone's probably busy looking into what exactly went down in the evidence room. That must be where the detectives are. But we proved in court today that on the day of the crime, no one was murdered in the evidence room at 5:15 p.m. Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway in our case. But instead, it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty. Hang in there, Lana. I've got to find all the answers by tomorrow. All right, well, we must have some other evidence to find, but that's going to have to wait until the next time that I stream, right? Because it's 9 o'clock and it's time that I was planning to stop. So I guess this is a good time to say thank you so much for all my viewers for supporting me today. I really appreciate you. I enjoyed all the great conversation we had today. And I hope that you enjoyed the gameplay. So, have an excellent evening, and I will see you again at 6 p.m. on Friday. Have a good night and take care. Bye now.